And I'm not quite sure if I'm allowed to say this, but moving from youth to a respected silver warrior now. So Associate Professor Mark Lane, who is our current RACP president, is going to speak. You probably all know him. I'll give a brief bio, but he's a gastroenterologist at Auckland Hospital and has held many roles, including clinical director, president of the New Zealand Society of Gastroenterology, patron of the Celiac Society of New Zealand, board member of Crohn's and Colitis New Zealand, and quite a number of roles within the college. And he's going to be talking with us about influences on his thinking and decisions regarding retirement planning.
Thanks, Alexandra. I have no slides. David Beaumont rang me up a few days ago and indicated that Pat Alley, who was due to speak in this session, was suffering from a retirement problem, namely the need of a hip replacement, which I understand is probably happening today. My main associations with Pat are at the far end of the indoor cricket pitch, where Pat could swing the ball at least 30 centimetres and it was impossible to play. Getting old's not great. Actually, I don't like the word old. I prefer the word getting older. In fact, when I talk to patients now, somewhere around the age of 40, I think we should stop asking people how old they are, but we should start asking them how young they are. And certainly at 60 or 70, I'm just going to say, Mrs. Smith, how young are you? But age is not a number. Age is an attitude and a state of mind. I was doing an examination on an elderly patient a few weeks ago. The fact that she was able to talk to me and that I was able to talk to her, and I'm a gastroenterologist, will probably explain what I was doing. Halfway through the procedure, she reaches out and grabs me. Why have you grabbed me, Mrs. Smith? Young man, at my age, you should take every opportunity to drag a young man. Excuse me, Mrs. Smith, how old are you? I'm 95, dear. So how old do you feel? Oh, about 25. I went back and checked her notes, by the way, and her vision was 20/20, and she scored 30 out of 30 on the mini mental status score. So what she said was all absolutely true, of course, and I am still quite young. However, as you get older, what you do notice is that performance decreases. Now, for me, it's primarily physical. When I was 20, I learned how to water ski, and I could do that wonderful skip start on the single ski where you could just step off your ski around the harbour, ski back in, step off your ski, and you'd never get wet. About 40, I lost that. I found I had to get into the water with two skis, get pulled out, and drop the single. At 60, I actually just stopped skiing. But inside, I still feel 25 in my head. Corridor conversations. Interesting, probably as a young house officer, you go and talk to your colleagues about what happened yesterday. As a mum, you probably talk about how are the kids and are you getting any sleep. If you're Alexandra, you're probably talking about what change in career you're planning, since I understand you've changed it at least 3 times. When you get to my age, the conversations are, so, are you planning retirement? Maybe also, how many times do you have to get up at night? And maybe, have you had your screening colonoscopy yet? I'll give you my card if you want it. Retirement was never actually in my plan. My father passed away at 50 from coronary artery disease, as did his brother. His father died in his early 60s, as did all of his siblings. So clearly I was never going to make retirement. But what with a lipid-lowering agent started at the age of 40 when my cholesterol hit 7, and that my xanthelasma all quietly melted away over the next 2 or 3 years, and that I passed 50. I told my wife that anything past 52 was bonus time. Clearly, I had to start thinking about some plans. Personal issues. So I was sitting alongside 2 wise people at the gala dinner as I was thinking about what I was going to say. And to my right was Sir Mason Jury, On the other side was my wife. So I said to these two wise people, so what do you think of retirement? And their response was, I hate it. Now, actually, my wife doesn't hate it anymore because although she was a deputy principal of school at the high point of her career, a few weeks ago she actually got a job where she's actually sitting alongside kids with disability in school, and she absolutely loves it. So Mason still does lots of work for the community and enjoys it. I spoke to my sister about what retirement's like, and she said to me, she was a nurse, senior nurse in an intensive care unit. She said, what you actually will struggle with, Mark, is the loss of status. When you're walking around at the moment, you'll be known as Mark Lane, the gastroenterologist. I'm not sure there's any status in being walking around as president of the college at the moment. And when you're retired, you're just Mark Lane, and you've got children and grandchildren, and life will look quite different. I did actually ask Pat Alley about it a few years ago, and Pat Alley made the one sensible comment, which is very practical, says, hey, Mark, don't worry about the money. And actually, I think that's really important because so much of our retirement planning is all about thinking about what our income is going to be like in our retirement. In reality, it's almost always okay. So when will I retire? At graduation ceremony, I actually said to the people graduates that, yes, I am about to retire, and I think that probably sometime next year I'll write a letter to my DHB and say, it's time I went, I think. I would quite like it if they give me a little bit of maybe colonoscopy to do for a while, but I will be going. When will that retirement day be? It'll definitely be at least one day before somebody comes up to me and says, Mark, I think you should retire. The only problem is I have great difficulty in figuring out when that day is. Most of you will know the sort of cycles of competency. We start off as a junior doctor, feeling competent, but probably also feeling a bit incompetent. So you're conscious and probably not very competent yet. Then you get to be a consultant, and you're consciously competent. When you get to be a senior person, it seems to happen automatically, and you're still competent, but you're unconscious about it. What I don't want to do is get into the phase of unconscious incompetence, because you don't see it and you don't know when it's going to hit you. So I'm likely to send a day when I leave rather than waiting for somebody to come up to me. Other things tend to drive their planning for retirement. Young doctors worry about making errors. Old doctors worry about it as well. If a young doctor makes an error, they've got a whole career to correct it. If I make an error and I retire because of it, that's the black mark at the end of my career. I don't want that. I definitely plan to retire before I get sick, and I don't see anything on the horizon yet. Have I got goals left I want to do in medicine? Actually, probably not. I've realised now as I watch my young doctors in my department around that I'm actually no longer indispensable, and I can cope with that. As I said, the finances are okay, but probably most importantly to me, my family are all okay. My kids are all in good jobs, my wife's in good health, and I can actually retire not worrying about them. What will I miss? Well, classically we all say we'll miss our colleagues, and the answer is yes, we will miss our colleagues. What will I miss? A text message I got yesterday. Hey Mark, I'm 99.9% pregnant. Waiting on bloods due back tomorrow. Are my meds okay to be on? Humira and azathioprine. Cheers. Response, congratulations. Continue the drugs. You must not get sick. Response, I must not get sick. I must not get sick. I must not get sick. Trust me, I'm saying it over and over. Response this morning while I was sitting down there, I'm 100% pregnant. I didn't want to give her a lesson on the binary nature of pregnancy. I will really miss my patients. I've looked after some of the patients I looked after. I've looked after for 30 plus years now. I've had a relationship with them that for many of them is almost closer than they tell me things they never tell their family members. It's been a privilege to be in their lives, and I am going to miss it. But what am I going to do when I retire? Well, I know there's about 5 kilometres of fencing to repair on the farm. I am planning to build a holiday house on my Turanga Waiwai. I've got a Chris Craft to repair with my brothers. Do any of you know what a Chris Craft is? A Chris Craft, image those boats that are taxis all through Venice, those varnished boats. I'm going to have one of them sorted out. I'm going to enjoy my family, and I've got a few things left on my bucket list to do. And one of them definitely is I'm going to go to Berlin, hear the Berlin Symphonia, do Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.